YouTubers, welcome back. Another episode of Marts Weld Shop. Got a little problem we had shooting episode number 5. Might have been my fault. I screwed up. I'm not this fancy computer guy who can just do all these magical things. I attempted to do like a time-lapse thing, but I did the whole video that way. I don't think you can get it back. It might be lost forever. That was an hour and a half of content that I wanted to show you guys of me putting that Ford 8.8 rear end back together, if you haven't seen it already. You know, I mean, I know you all did, because there's a million videos out there of that same thing. But anyways, I had to go back to Kyle's, if you remember from the last episode, and we had to pull that pinion out because they're like, you better change that pinion. The pinion bearings are gonna blow up, and now's the time to do it. Like, okay, I'll do it. So I had to go back before them guys were done with work. And I didn't want to keep them there. It was Friday night. It was already 2:30, 3 o'clock. They're going home at 4. So I got there. We pulled the pinion out. And we just replaced the little bearing at the end with seal. We did the seal. But to save time, because it's a process cutting these races off of the things, the pinion and I already did it on the carrier part. I didn't want to keep these guys, so I cheaped out. What do you want? This is budget. This is not a huge production like these fancy fellas like Flip Goose and his underhauling show that he has on cable. You know, I mean, this guy's got all the tools, and he tells you this fancy, well, it's not a fancy story. It's more of a heartfelt story of this guy or whatever. Let's say he's up in the North Pole saving baby seals or penguins or something, you know, and he's going to be back in 3 days. So they come and steal his car, and then they do their stuff to it, you know, and he goes in his office talking about the guy in a story, and he's making up this cool rendering of how neat the car's going to look in the day, you know, when it's done. Like, today's Monday and it's gonna be done on Wednesday, you know. And I mean, I get it, it's cool. I wish I could draw as good as that guy. I'm pretty good, you know, but who does that? I mean, come on, you can't do a car in 3 days, you know. And what do you need a rendering for, you know? I just it's the rendering of the S10 and what she's gonna look like. Huge turbo, big wing, you know, need some downforce in the back, some side pipes. Well, anyways, guys, I'm gonna go through a quick review of what possibly is lost forever, episode number 5. I'm probably gonna end up calling this one 5. Just because, so you guys ain't searching for days and months and have an aneurysm, you know, because you can't find episode 5. Where did it go? So I'll have to call this one 5, and then maybe I'll somehow figure out the Google box and editing things to get this time lapse built into this video, or maybe I'll put it in a separate one and I'll just name it time lapse ruined video or something. I don't know. Well, anyways, I'll show you what we did here on a serious note. Went to Carl's, got the pinion bearing changed. That one was pretty bad. The back one was chunky. It wasn't good. So we replaced on that and the seal, put a little grease on the seal so you don't mar it up, you know, and I kind of cleaned up where the yoke thingy rode on the seal. Just give it a little extra comfort. So then, when I got her home, I got the axle up here on my new stand, right on the front of the S10 here. And she's not falling off no blocks of wood like I had the other day in the back. So what we got here, it's finished. I did it in the last episode for an hour and a half, talking to you guys, asking questions, and you guys screwed me a few times. You screwed me by not answering. But I figured it out. No instructions. Men, you don't need instructions. You took it apart, you should know how to put it back together. Right? So, first thing I did, I pulled out the bearings the other day. I showed you guys that. First thing I did is put the bearings in. So, what I did is I took the old bearing here and put it up against the new one. There's a little lip in there for the bearing to ride on. You just tap it all the way around gingerly. Guys, just get it going. Just easy. And then, once it bottomed out in there, you're done. You know, you get it in. Then, I took the seal, put a little grease on the inside for that extra comfort again. So, at that point, I was thinking with my brain, kind of, that I'm going to put a little RTV on the outside of the seal where it butts up with the axle tube, just so it doesn't leak, because I got a 9-inch, guys, and I've had this apart numerous times. It leaks all over. It leaks like a sieve. On the floor, my brother's shop, that's where it sits. On my rims, on my brakes. I don't know. Well, anyways, so the extra comfort of putting some RTV on there, a little silicone, just for my own thoughts. So when I got that done, I put the carrier in. But Carl was like, easy on those big washers, the big washers on the sides of the races. And there's a flat side and a rounded side, just so you know. Rounded side to the outside, both of them. That's why I wrote on them, just so I knew, you know, because I'm not qualified for this. So I put them in, and I tapped them. Easy, guys. I was easy on the tapping. He said they were going to explode if I hit them too hard, so I didn't. I used the rubber part of my carpenter's hammer. Works in many cases. So, once I got that seated in, I was like, yeah, I'm going to put the axles in. Again, guys, be careful. Don't forget your brake bracketlitos. Right here. The bracketry. Don't forget that, because here's the reason why. And do yourself a favor. Get yourself some anti-seize in case you're ever taking this back apart. Just save yourself or the next guy, you know. Put some anti-seize on these bolts and get your brackets on before you stick the axles in the tubes. Because Ford, look at it. They don't put a hole to get to your bracket bolts. Come on, engineers, do it right the first time. You know, a guy sticks his axle in there, and then he's like, I got to do this all by hand now because there's not a hole that I can stick my socket through. Just watch it when you're dealing with Ford stuff. Sorry, Ford guys. But it's true. Anyways, so I was like, I ain't doing this by hand anyway. I'm going to bring out the big, heavy artillery. So I did. I got her. I brought the artillery out in it right here. My impact. Broke the tip off on the second bolt. Now it's stuck in there. It's stuck. Doing it by hand again. Well, at least I didn't have the axles in there. So, anyways, did that. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stick the old, I got the spool, you know, from these guys over here. I'll show you where we got it from, you know. These fellas right here. So, and again, guys, the axles on the ends of the tubes where the seals ride, I took a little like 400 grit sandpaper, a little Scotch-Brite, some Brasso, a little sauce on there, and polished those ends just for that seal, the comfort on the seal. You don't have to wreck it. I don't care. But I don't know why I'm taking all these precautions, because I'm not in the inside, but whatever. So got them all nice and polished, sticking them in. Got the spool halves in, the 2 halves. And then I stuck the little squares, the locker's part of the spool. And then I put the pin in. And then I got the little bolt, you know, it goes through the pin that holds it all together. I put a little RTV on that because I didn't want to go to the basement and get the Loctite. Lazy. I don't know. I thought it would help in just this case, but whatever. So, put it all together and I'm like, what's going on here? The squares are moving around. And you guys didn't even tell me. You gotta put the axles in, doofus. I did the Bracolitos. I didn't even put the axles in. I was excited. I was excited when I was talking to you guys and I was trying to put this together. And nobody said, hey, you might want to grab the axles first. You just watched me. You watched me be a dink. So, take it all apart again. Pull it out. I got the axles in, guys. Got the axles in. And I had to fight a little bit. It all wants to fall around in there. But, got it in. Got the pin back in. The axle clips, one of them was, she was a bugger. She was a bugger. She didn't want to go in there. And it went in. We got her in. Then I torqued down the race caps. And, you know, Ford, I don't understand Ford. What is going on? You're like 70 to 85 foot-pounds. Like, you don't have a specific foot pounding on that? Like, I've been a mechanic, you know, for some years, here and there, off and on. It's always been that way. You don't have, like, you're like, just wing it. What do I even use a torque wrench for? So yeah, I went like 75. What was I supposed to do, 77 and a half? I don't know. I'm not qualified for this. Anyways, next thing I did, using my brain hole again. Well, it's here, like this, on my new stand. My new stand right here. I'm gonna fill it with sauce. So I'm not stuck under the back of this thing. Once I get the box on, under there at my neck, under the car arm, trying to hold this greasy bottle that's juicing all over because it's leaking. That's what it always does. Just making a mess. Just do it now. I did it now. Then we got this fancy cover, because you remember, I poked a hole in the rusty one. Speed parts, right here. And I ended up going with the gasket. I just put the gasket in. I didn't put the RTV in because it was coming out of the tube kind of slow, and I didn't feel like dealing with it. Give a guy a break. You know, after like 2 laps around the block, I'm going to change the fluid. That's what we always say, you know, get the chunks out. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to put 100,000 miles on this thing probably. Because we're lazy, right? I don't know. I'll try to change it. But yeah, and I torqued these down to, I think it was 10 foot-pounds. Yeah, these little bolts right here. Those are fancy new Allen. Those new Allen bolts. The old ones didn't fit in because this thing's pretty thick. It's almost an inch. And that's about it for this. And I'm sorry you guys had to miss it. So, like I said, I'm going to try and do the editing kind of thing and put this. It's going to be high speed. I don't know if I'm going to sound like a chipmunk doing that crap, but maybe. I don't even know if there's sound. I think it didn't even tape with sound for some reason. I don't understand it. Goofy. You know. So, I'm going to try and do that. If not, maybe I'll put it in a separate video like I said. And on to the next procedure here. I think I'm going to pull out the rest of the leaf springs and get that garbage out. And I think I'm going to just clean this back up a little bit, you know. Do something with this frame. Pull the Caltrek bars out and maybe put some braces in, you know. And I seen another S10 guy on the YouTubes. He's up there from Canada. You might have seen him. He ended up putting a Blazer gas tank in the back, right in the center. It sounds like a good idea. So I might steal that from him. But I know. You guys want to see more done on the 10, but it's slow going here, guys. I got a job, you know. I gotta come home, you know, try and do some of this stuff so you guys can see. And I'm sorry you missed the axle build. It's terrible. Just made me sour inside. But until next time, I'm going to have some. I'm going to show you. We're going to do it. I mean, it's just an S10 build, guys. You've already seen everybody put the same parts on. So I don't know why you want to see it again, and I don't want to show you guys the same kind of googly gack that everybody else does. So just try and get you to not make the same mistakes I do. That's all. See you next time, YouTube. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell, whatever that does. Share. You know. Thanks a lot for watching.